Hey, it's Jacob here. Jacob Arterio Braden, your intuitive guide. I'm here to introduce myself formally to you and tell you about what I can do really in terms of readings or intuitive support for whatever issues or questions you have going on for you in your life, or whatever intuitive guidance you may need from me. Okay, I first had my what you might call psychic experiences or connections with the other realms, spirit realms, when I was very, very, very young. Before I would fall asleep at night time, I would often see hundreds, thousands of faces coming towards me. Before I slept, they would start off very far away and become much, much, much closer. Some of these images were very scary because they were people, men, women, other beings, other entities, demons, angels, from all time scales. So right from cavemen to soldiers to people in armor to women from medieval period, women from the Victorian period, women from the Dark Ages, women from early times, the kind of the early days, like when we were cavemen, all the way through to demons, to aliens, people that weren't human, but not demons. Very interesting. Scared the living crap out of me when I was 5 years old, I can tell you. This went on for a number of weeks. I never, ever, ever talked about it to anybody until I had a reading with somebody a few years ago, and I brought it up, and she said yes, they were the spirits coming to say hello and check in on you because you're very psychic and you're quite a powerful, her words, not mine, quite a powerful, intuitive psychic person, and they could pick up on your young energies, and they were coming to visit you. And I was pretty glad when I pretty pleased I didn't know that when I was 5. It was very interesting. At that time I was living in a children's home that was built in 1066, around the time of Doomsday. It's actually in the Doomsday book. The original building was much smaller, and the other kids were talking about a fire that had taken place, and I said, "Oh yeah, I remember that fire, and we went here, and this happened, and that happened." And they went, "You weren't here. It was 2 years ago." And I clearly remember the fire and being in the actual home when it caught fire, but I wasn't there, so I picked up on that. I didn't really pursue my experiences for a long time. When I was about 11 or 12, I was in another children's home in another part of this county, and I'd gone to secondary school, and I went into the library, and I just couldn't get enough of anything to do with paranormal, the occult, ESP, aliens, psychicness, mediums, tarots, clairvoyance. I just could not get enough of it. I was like, it really interested me. I started reading my horoscope in the paper every day, and got really interested in astrology and finding out more about me as an Aries, and because I wasn't a typical Aries, it didn't make sense as to why, what happened. But I had a very traumatic childhood, to say the least, which tempered a lot of my Aries energy. But more about that another time. And I I think I got my first tarot deck when I was 16 or 17, and I would give tarot card readings to people in the home, some of the kids, some of the staff. I had a tarot reading myself when I was 13 or 14 for all of the staff, and I was really interested in it, really intrigued into it. I was always, when I first went to the home when I was 11, I was bullied and picked on a lot by the kids. Really intense bullying and intense energy towards me. And later I sensed that because people could pick up on my likes, and they often didn't like it. So they tried to attack it and suppress it, in order for me not to shine my light. And as I got older and more confident in myself, and those kids moved away from the home, I became much more friendly and outgoing with a lot of the other children. And quite often many of the girls would come to me with their personal problems, seeking guidance from me, seeking advice from me. No idea why. They would come to me. I really realised when I was from about 17 onwards, wherever I went, if I went on a bus or a train on a long journey, I sat next to somebody, they would end up telling me their bloody life story, their deepest, darkest secrets, stuff they'd never told anyone else. For some reason, people confided in me, told me their secrets, even though I was young, asked me for advice, looked to me for support. I never really properly understood all of this, and I didn't really kind of pursue a lot of tarot stuff or anything like that. Even though I had tarot cards, I would give odd readings. For many years, I put it aside when I came out and went on the gay scene and experienced gay life. I didn't really pursue a spiritual career or a spiritual life. Once in a while, I'll go for tarot readings or psychics for support or guidance about future, usually about romance and whether or not I was going to meet the man of my dreams. But always, it was always there in the background, and it was something I always came to when I needed support. It wasn't until the breakup of my only long-term relationship with another man that things properly kicked off. Now, I'd done a tarot course like in the last about 2 years before we broke up. I did a tarot course about how to read tarot cards and stuff like that. And when we broke up, I moved away from London up to the north. I spent 4 years pretty much in social isolation, even though I went to a job that involved supporting other gay men who were socially isolated. I was very socially isolated myself, and I could go for days without talking to another human being. So a lot of time to go inwards, a lot of time for reflection. I did an NLP course. I did 3 NLP courses actually, so I'm actually an NLP practitioner. So NLP skills as well. I did a coaching course, a life coaching course. I've done that as well. I wrote and designed goals courses while I was in my previous employment. I'm a trained facilitator. I've done a lot of work with gay men about skills and confidence and assertiveness as well. So all of this is kind of professional stuff I've got going. And I've detracted a little bit, but I'll come back to the stuff. So anyway, I would say things properly opened up for me in about 2010, 2011, when I experienced pretty extreme ascension symptoms that meant I had a lot of time off work ill, because I thought there was something seriously wrong with me. I really went inwards and had to deal with a lot of stuff. I kind of had to acknowledge my role. I joined a website called Soul Garden, and that was very supportive at the time. The energies there at the time were wonderful and great and loving. A lot of support. I really got into astrology and learned much more about astrology and the readings. See, I'm not the type of person to go to books or go to lectures because it's just not my learning style. I learn much more by interacting with people, watching videos, chatting to people. So my astrology knowledge and insight has increased like tenfold over the last 3 or 4 years, especially getting to know my birth chart, discovering my original birth time was wrong. I wasn't Cancer rising, I was actually Gemini rising. Made a lot more sense to me. Looking at my own personal chart with my very big 11th house and all the planets in my 11th house, the huge stellium and the 9 yods pointing to my Sun, Saturn, and Mercury. Sun and Saturn in the 11th, Mercury in the 12th. Understanding why I've always been drawn to helping people. Why in the last 20 years of my working life, I've either volunteered or worked with people, supporting gay men, supporting gay rights, sexual health, HIV prevention, HIV awareness, equality, challenging the stigma and discrimination, all 11th house stuff. It really helped me understand, and really my intuitiveness really picked up a lot since 2010 and since 2011, which was part of the awakening and part of the opening up. Me personally, more past life experiences came to me. I have an uncanny knowledge of people sometimes, and trust me, when you're trying to date people, it can be very challenging because I can see inside people. I tend to be very aware of their issues. I'm an empath as well, so I pick up on people's feelings and emotions. And I did, for a short period of time on Soul Garden, I did weekly internet shows where I pulled cards for people and supported people with their issues, gave them advice. I've done a daily card now for over a year on YouTube, which has been available on my Facebook page and a couple of other pages on Facebook. I parted company with Soul Garden last year for personal reasons. The energy wasn't right anymore for me. And I'd intuitively picked up on some of the issues a few months beforehand, before other people had actually, about some of the stuff there, and it was confirmed for me that it wasn't really a good place for me to be, so I left. No hard feelings. I wish everybody there all the best, and my love is still there for people as well. And more recently, I've been quite active on a page on Facebook called the Leo King and the Wonderful Astrology of David Palmer. And he's a very gifted and talented astrologer, as is Louise Edington as well. I've had readings of her, and as is Steve Judd, and also Tom Kaya-Pacha. I say are 4 astrologers that I really do rate as very talented and gifted in terms of what they do. Now, I myself would say I'm an intuitive astrologer. I don't go by books. I don't go by the tired old paradigm of this means this, and it being restrictive and bounded. I look at a chart and I intuitively pick up on what that chart is telling me at that moment in time. So I could see the same chart a week later and it would tell me something different, because I am drawn to certain planets in certain houses, certain aspects between certain planets. And when you have a reading with me, I will look at your birth chart, possibly look at your progressed chart as well, and maybe your most recent solar return chart to get a sense of what's going on for you in terms of what I'm picking up from what the chart is telling me. I pull cards as well. So I have 4 decks, but I use mostly. So we have the Gods and Titans deck. So this is very much around the masculine energy, the divine masculine energy of the Gods and the Titans. So that is great. I may use Archangel Michael as well, which is my angel deck. So this is the guidance of Archangel Michael, who's my favorite angel. I have him tattooed here on my chest, above my heart. I may use what I call the Merlin deck. And this is the Gilded Tarot, but I call it Merlin because this kind of reminds me of that era. Or I may use the Steampunk deck here as well. So you can choose, or you can let me choose, it's up to you. But when you have a reading with me, you can either ask me a specific question and we will look at your chart and we will draw some cards around that question, or you can have just a general what I sense is going on from your chart reading and pull some cards as well. We can just pull some cards around the question. If you don't want the astrology, I can do that as well. Or excuse me, or if you like, I can you can tell me an event or a specific situation, and we can run an event chart around that and look at what some of the possible outcomes can be. You can contact me on my YouTube page, which is Intuitive Gay Guide, on my Facebook page, or you can email me at intuitivegayguide.com. I don't publicize my prices. What I do is, because I don't know whether it's going to be a 10-minute reading or an hour's reading, is what I say is you pay me what you feel the reading is worth. Okay, I might give you a guideline. So you know, the minimum would be say $15 for a 1 minute a one question, sorry, $15 for one question, 10 to 20 minute reading. Or if it's more than that, then I would suggest it's at least $20 or at least £15. And how I do it is we can either Google Hangout, so I can record it on Google Hangout, so you've got it, or you can just email me the question and your birth details and stuff like that. I can pull your chart, read your chart, do the cards, record the video, and send it to you. Okay. I hope this has been informative for you. I hope you really got to know me a little bit better. I thought it is time now, with the Mars moving forwards, the Sun and Mercury in Gemini, and Venus at the last stages of the Aries, to really do this video and promote myself a little bit. Thank you.